हम ये चुनाव विकास के मुद्दे पर लड़ रहे हैं.
Let them come for an open debate with me. I've challenged Eknath Shinde multiple times.
Congress is in the worst situation in this state.
महायुति में भी इससे ज्यादा डिस्प्यूट है.
Everything is fair in love and politics.
वोट देने वाले ही जिताने वाले हैं ना.
So we worked on 4 options.
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
I now request the Honorable Prime Minister to launch NDTV World and address the summit.
It was the grand launch of NDTV World by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. NDTV World. As he
You are watching the World 24/7 on the NDTV network. I'm Parmeshwar Bafa. Let's begin with the headlines we're tracking at the moment. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar arrived in Italy to participate in the outreach session of the G7 Foreign Ministers meeting, where India has been invited as a guest country. India has fiercely rejected the $300 billion climate finance package for the Global South and said the COP29 presidency and the UN Climate Change Office forced through the deal before allowing it to voice its objections. Donald Trump has nearly finalized his picks for his next cabinet. Following a flurry of nominations over the weekend, there have been more than 40 picks revealed in the 17 days since his first nomination. Pakistan's capital was put under a security lockdown ahead of protests by supporters of jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan calling for his release. The Israeli military has ordered the evacuation of new areas of northern Gaza, setting off a fresh wave of civilian displacements as intense airstrikes continued across much of the territory. Our big focus, the External Affairs Minister's Dr. Jaishankar actually touched down in Italy. He's on a 3-day visit till the 26th of November. And the main highlight of this trip is attending the outreach session of the G7 Foreign Ministers meeting, where India has been invited as a guest country. Now, Dr. Jaishankar has inaugurated the new premises of the Indian Embassy in Rome. He in fact said India views Italy as a key European partner and an influential Mediterranean ally, while inaugurating the new chancery of the Embassy of India in Rome. My colleague Mohammad Ghazali has been tracking the latest developments for us. He joins us live at the moment. Ghazali, as we know, India and Italy in Rome had recently unveiled a 5-year strategic action plan with collaboration in areas like defense and clean energy. Take us through what Dr. Jaishankar's plan of action is till the 26th in Italy.
See, you rightly pointed out that how India has developed its relationship in Europe. You just remember last month when German Chancellor was here, he spoke about how he's going to ease visa process for Indians who are interested in moving abroad. On similar lines, with Italy also, our relationship has grown over the years. Yesterday, while inaugurating the Chancellery, Indian External Affairs Minister, Mr. Jaishankar, also spoke about the current global situation and how as India has been invited as a guest in this G7 foreign ministers meet, the other world leaders are also arriving in Italy, and External Affairs Minister, as per the schedule is concerned, he is also expected to meet his counterpart, Italian counterpart, as well as leaders from other countries, from other G7 countries. But the most important point, which will be on top of the discussion right now, will be one, that how India-Italy relationship can be improvised or can be taken to another level when it comes to energy needs, when it comes to employment, and also the major focus of this government has been on the skill development. We have seen that kind of MOU being signed between India and other countries where the Prime Minister or the External Affairs Minister have visited in the last 6 months, Italy being one of them, where the External Affairs Minister said that after becoming the minister, this is his third visit there. And besides that, the focus will be on the two global conflict. That has been the focus of all these summits, bilateral talks. Yesterday, the External Affairs Minister also spoke about the IMEC corridor, because IMEC corridor is one on which in G20, a lot of the European nations were the signatories of that, but that has seen a very little development. So these issues, the issues which impact India directly, like the conflict going on in West Asia and in Europe, and also what could be India's role. India also has to assert itself on global level, and that is why this meeting is very important. Besides weaving or stitching these alliances with global countries like Italy or the Western parts, India is also focusing to assert that it can also play a role as a peacemaker and also offer as a voice of the global South.
As always, Ghazali, thanks so much for joining us with the latest update. Meanwhile, in the American heartland, supporters of Donald Trump are thrilled, believing they're finally getting the president they've always wanted. But voters who helped elect Trump to the White House are now celebrating what they see as his break from the Washington establishment. Now, while leading Democrats criticize his cabinet nominations as agents of contempt, rage, and vengeance, Trump's supporters are viewing his cabinet picks as proof that he has shaken off the influence of the political elite and is staying true to his promise of change. Democrats are currently outraged in the United States over Donald Trump's latest cabinet picks, including his choice for health secretary, who's a vaccine skeptic. They're also furious at the prospect of former Fox News personalities leading the Pentagon and the Department of Transportation. Adding to the controversy, there's concern over tech mogul Elon Musk potentially shaking up the federal bureaucracy in a major way. In fact, even some Republicans are uneasy about Donald Trump's cabinet picks. For instance, the nomination of former Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz for U.S. Attorney General quickly faltered after just a few days due to allegations involving sex with a minor, causing a major setback for Trump's selection process. But in a few days, we are told that cabinet will be fine. The other crucial developments we're tracking, Ukraine's president has said the country had been targeted by nearly 500 drones in the past week, as well as more than 20 missiles, and complained that Russia was using the country as a testing ground for its munitions. Russia's first ever use of the Oreshnik intermediate range ballistic missile on Dnipro captured global attention, as we extensively covered. On Sunday, Zelensky highlighted the increased level of the drone attacks, the Shahid drone attacks as well. Jaishankar reports.
Ukraine says that the maximum speed of the missile with which Russia attacked its city Dnipro on Thursday was about 13,000 kilometers per hour. This is equal to 11 Mach. That is, it attacked at a speed of 11 times faster than the speed of sound. It took 15 minutes to reach Dnipro from the Astrakhan area of Russia, from where it was launched. The main Directorate of Intelligence of the Ukrainian Army has said this in its assessment. It has also been said that this missile had 6 warheads and each warhead had 6 sub-munitions. Ukraine has come out with this assessment publicly because it shows that the missile with which Russia attacked was very lethal. Ukraine believes that the missile was made in Russia's Qadr missile complex, and before starting its mass production, Russia will have to conduct at least 10 more tests of such missiles. Earlier, Ukraine had said that the missile fired on Dnipro was an intercontinental ballistic missile. Russian President Vladimir Putin has said that in his statement that the missile with which Russia targeted a military base in Ukraine is a new type of intermediate range hypersonic ballistic missile. It is known as Orshanik. Although it is not an ICBM, it is similar missile based on the same technology. The Pentagon has said that it was a missile made on the basis of the RB-26 Roves model. Through the use of this missile, Russia has sent a message to those Western countries those are providing military assistance to Ukraine. Ukraine has attacked the Kursk region of Russia with US-made long-range missiles. Along with this, the British-made Storm Shadow missile was also used by Ukraine. These missiles find the target by following GPS and hit it. There are also reports of many military officials in Russia coming under the ambit of these attacks, and many got killed. Some of them were from North Korean army too, though there is no official confirmation about it from either side. Ukraine's President Zelensky has demanded more advanced weapons from the West, while Putin has also threatened nuclear attacks against these attacks with such weapon acquired from the America and the West countries. Overall, it has been more than 1,000 days since the Ukraine-Russia war started, but instead of moving towards the peace, the situation seems to be taking a more destructive turn.
In other news, India has strongly rejected the $300 billion climate finance package for the Global South, calling it insufficient and unfair. This is at the UN Climate Conference. India has accused the COP29 presidency and the UN Climate Change Office of pushing through the deal without allowing the country to voice its objections. In fact, Chandni Raina, the advisor to India's Department of Economic Affairs, described the adoption process as stage-managed and said it highlighted the growing lack of trust in the UN system. The new package, which replaces the $100 billion pledge from 2009, is set to be delivered annually by 2035, but India insists it is too little to address the needs of developing nations. Listen in.
The goal is too little, too distant. It is 2035, it's too far gone. Our 2030 estimates tell us that we need to do it at 1.3 trillion per year till 2030. But we have only been agreeable to have, or we have a proposal that talks about 300 USD billion mobilization goal. It does not address the needs and priorities of developing countries. The amount that is proposed to be mobilized is abysmally poor. It's a paltry sum. It is not something that will enable conducive climate action that is necessary for the survival of our country and for the growth of our people, their livelihoods. And I'm sorry to say that we cannot accept it.
And joining us for further clarity on the broadcast, Abhinash Mohanty, Global Sector Head from IPE Global. Thanks so much, Abhinash, for making time for us. Now, supporters of the deal argue that it represents progress, while critics like India and Nigeria have dismissed that. Is this climate finance deal truly effective in addressing the urgent needs of the Global South? Or would you argue that it is just symbolic action to pacify international concerns?
Good morning. First of all, we have taken 29 editions of Conference of Parties to reach into some sort of consensus into the need of what vulnerable countries actually need in terms of mitigating the impacts of climate change. And in the Conference of Parties, the demand has already been agreed. It's not a number that we have given. Our requirement as a developing country, as a group of developing countries, 1.3 trillion. But what has happened of late is all of these symbolical tokens, COP after COP, which has been done, of 300 billion. At first, this was $250 million, $250 billion when the walkout was staged and the developing countries kind of protested. It was made after European Union's intervention to $300 billion. And that $300 billion is actually too little, too slow. It is not even what is the exact quantum. And what India did was kind of voicing out the voice of the global south in terms of taking it forward and providing that voice for the most vulnerable ones, that these amounts are just mere symbolical and emblematic. And these amounts are not going to help us in some way or the other. And that's what is the larger problem with the COP processes now, that the breach is already been burnt. It's been burning more and more rather than just the trust breach that should be breached in between the developing country. And that's where the problem lies.
In fact, Avinash, India has expressed discontent with the fact that it was not allowed to speak also before the deal's adoption. In this case, how much influence do developing countries have in these high-level climate negotiations? Would you say the process needs more inclusivity and more transparency?
So the process, as per the process, there is a draft text that comes out, and after the draft text, all the countries, at least selected few countries, have got a chance to speak up. Whereas in this case, India wasn't allowed because it was well clear that countries like India are going to protest it, countries like India are going to put it forward, not agree to it. And the UN processes need to be more transparent. You can't be just stage mannering these conferences, because this is a question where lives, livelihood, economies and infrastructures are at stake for larger part of the globe. Countries at the larger part of the globe. And more importantly, what has happened is the Western or the developed countries have eaten up the carbon sink to the larger extent. Now, after eating up, they have been pushing developing countries like India, Brazil, to go ahead, Cuba, to go ahead in terms of adopting low carbon pathways at a faster rate.
Right.
Whereas we have also got developing kind of agendas and parameters, and we need our time. It's not that we are not doing our climate actions. At home, we are one of the global leaders, and we have been pushing our limits in terms of balancing out between climate agenda as well as climate targets, as well as our developmental targets. And now, once these targets have been made, what has happened is the technology which is required by countries like India, they are also not made available, accessible, and affordable. And that's where the real question comes in. And these are all some of the major questions which the COP or the human processes need to answer. It can't just be stage mannered every time one COP after the other. And that's where the real challenge comes into picture.
Indeed. Avinash, thanks so much for joining us and for the great insight. We sincerely hope that climate negotiations can make some tangible movement on the ground rather than them being just symbolic concerns. Thanks so much, Avinash Mohanty, for joining us. As always, news and updates continue right here on NDTV. Taking a quick break for now.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you. NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number 1 in both online and offline reach in India, beating all its competition. NDTV stands for trust.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
It's a web of frauds, calls, luring emails, threatening messages. Cyber frauds have cast their net wide and everyone is at risk. We track the victims, their horror stories as they get conned online, extorted and robbed of their hard-earned money. How to identify a cyber fraud and how to stay cyber safe. What are your options? Fraud.con, NDTV initiative for cyber safety. Only on NDTV 24/7.
हम ये चुनाव विकास के मुद्दे पर लड़ रहे हैं.
Let them come for an open debate with me. I've challenged Eknath Shinde multiple times.
Congress is in the worst situation in this state.
महायुति में भी इससे ज्यादा डिस्प्यूट है.
Everything is fair in love and politics.
वोट देने वाले ही जिताने वाले हैं ना.
So we worked on 4 options.
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you.
Welcome back. Islamabad, Pakistan's capital, is under heavy security lockdown as protests are expected from supporters of jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan. His followers, led by members of his Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party, are demanding his release. But the government has blocked major highways leading into the city, anticipating large gatherings near the parliament. In fact, roads within Islamabad are also shut down with shipping containers, while police and paramilitary forces in riot gear are stationed across the city, as my colleague Mohammad Ghazali is reporting. In fact, Ghazali is with us live at the moment. Ghazali, Islamabad is on lockdown ahead of mass protests?
Yeah, we have seen that in the last 2 weeks before November 24th, that how Imran Khan, his supporters, the PTI leaders have been mobilizing people on social media to storm national capital on November 24th. That was yesterday. But the government has been very determined that they will not allow the protesters to enter into the national capital. And this had happened a couple of last month as well. In October, in September, there have been repeated attempts by PTI supporters to rally support for Imran Khan. Imran Khan has been using social media, giving interviews to journalists to call for people. And the last post that he made a couple of days ago asking 4 sections of society, journalists, lawyers, doctors, and intellectuals to storm the streets. But that doesn't seem to be happening right now. But large gatherings outside Islamabad have gathered from different cities like Rawalpindi, like from other different cities of Pakistan. But the government is very determined that with iron hand, they will try to crush these protesters or not let them enter into the national capital for any kind of protest. And that is where the showdown is expected. Even yesterday, many PTI leaders were arrested before they could even reach Islamabad from different pockets of the country, and all those stronghold of Imran Khan's party PTI. Many leaders have been arrested, detained, and it is very likely that even if his supporters persist that they will continue to move towards Islamabad, there is likely to be a showdown between the security forces or the government forces and PTI supporters.
Ghazali, as always, thanks so much for joining us with the latest. Meanwhile, 3 days of bitter sectarian gunfights in northwestern Pakistan have killed at least 82 people and wounded 156 more, as per local officials. The latest bout of violence began on Thursday last week when 2 separate convoys of Shiite Muslims travelling under police escort were ambushed, killing at least 43 and sparking 2 days of gun battles. Now, nearly 300 families have relocated after fresh violence there. In other crucial news, the United States is using Taiwan to provoke a serious crisis in Asia, as per reports. This is what Russia is reiterating. In fact, Moscow is accusing Washington of backing China's stance on Taiwan. If you remember, in September, Joe Biden had approved $567 million worth of military support for Taiwan. Russia had responded that it was standing alongside China on Asian issues, including criticism of the US drive to extend its influence and deliberate attempts to inflame the situation around Taiwan. My colleague Laura Westbrook is tracking the latest developments. She joins us live from Hong Kong at the moment. Laura, Russia now claiming Washington is violating the One China principle and saying that the US is using Taiwan to stir crisis in Asia.
Yeah, that's right. That's the recent statement that we got from Russia. And to give you a bit of context to this, Beijing claims Taiwan as its own, and President Xi Jinping has said that could be reunited by force if necessary. And the US policy towards Taiwan is that it opposes either side unilaterally changing the status quo. It also doesn't officially recognize Taiwan as independent, but it opposes any attempt to retake it by force, and it's also committed to providing Taiwan with the means to defend itself. And so whenever the US provides arms to Taiwan, we always get these strong rebukes from Beijing. And the most recent example of that was, as you mentioned, in September, there was President Joe Biden approved a $567 million arms sale package. And following that, we heard a statement from Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, and he said that Russia is supportive of China in Asia, and it opposes any attempt to inflame the situation in Taiwan. But crucially, he also said that Russia approves of Beijing's approach to Ukraine, and I think this is really key here. China and Russia have grown closer, both diplomatically, but Russia also very much depends on China economically since its invasion in Ukraine.
Laura, thanks so much as always for joining us with that live update from Hong Kong. Turning our attention now to the Middle East, the Israeli military has ordered the evacuation of new areas of northern Gaza, setting off a fresh wave of civilian displacements over the weekend as intense airstrikes continued across much of the territory. In fact, in Jerusalem, a senior minister said the war in Gaza was far from over and that Israel would stay for years in the territory. And a gunman was dead and 3 Jordanian policemen injured after a shooting near the heavily fortified Israeli embassy in the capital Amman over the weekend on Sunday, as per reports. In fact, police shot a gunman who had fired at a police patrol in an affluent neighborhood of the Jordanian capital, as per state media. They cited public security, adding investigations were currently underway. And finally, Max Verstappen claimed his 4th consecutive Formula One World Drivers' Championship at a breathless Las Vegas Grand Prix that saw George Russell take victory for Mercedes. Verstappen now joins Michael Schumacher, Lewis Hamilton, Juan Manuel Fangio and Sebastian Vettel as the only drivers in F1 history to win at least 4 drivers' titles, further establishing him as one of the greatest drivers of all time. As always, thank you for investing your time and watching this edition of The World 24/7. We'll keep tracking the latest for you. Do stay tuned.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
I now request the Honorable Prime Minister to launch NDTV World and address the summit.
It was the grand launch of NDTV World by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. NDTV World, as he laid out his vision for the India century at the NDTV World Summit.
ऐसी सदी जिसमें भारत के प्रयासों से दुनिया में स्थिरता आए.
In the presence of those who are shaping our future.
मेरी तरफ से आपको ढेर सारी शुभकामनाएं हैं.
NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you. NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
It's a web of frauds, calls, luring emails, threatening messages.
Hello everyone, a very good morning. You're watching Breakfast Show on NDTV. I'm Radhika Ramaswamy, joining you from Mumbai studios. Also with us is Divya, who's joining us from Delhi studios. Divya, today is day one of Parliament winter session. A lot of drama expected there, and besides that, of course, discussions and deliberations in Maharashtra over who will be the next Chief Minister. So we have tons lined up for the next one now.
Absolutely. Will it be Eknath Shinde or Devendra Fadnavis is the big question as far as Maharashtra is concerned, and also re-imaging of the cities from all the way from Mumbai to Gurgaon is what the Prime Minister has spoken of. So we're going to be focusing on what urbanization could mean for these cities. But first, let's get you the headlines. The winter session of the Parliament begins today, and during which 3 key bills are scheduled, coming on the heels of the NDA's massive history in Haryana and Maharashtra. The session is likely to see the government on a stronger wicket, and the opposition is to bring up the crisis in Manipur as well as the issue of the Waqf bill.
3 people were killed and at least 30 police personnel were injured in clashes on Sunday after a survey team showed up at a mosque in western UP Sambhal to carry out an inspection in line with the local court's direction.
And after that massive victory in the state of Maharashtra on Saturday, the partners in the Mahayuti alliance, the BJP, Shiv Sena and the NCP are holding crucial meetings. This is regarding the post of the Chief Minister. Who will be the next Chief Minister is the big question.
Focus, reimagining our cities, future of urban planning. Prime Minister Modi, after victory